understand the tools that you work with, break them apart and rebuild them from scratch. The way I learned React best was by building it myself, in the sense that I wanted to understand its internals. And so I there was this incredible blog post, and I went and I built my own version of React, not because I think I could do it better or I could do it different, because I wanted to understand how it worked at its core to be able to leverage it best. So don't stay at the surface, dig a little deeper, and let that curiosity drag you into places you never thought it could.
Welcome on Hapidev Decoding. Today I have the pleasure to welcome Faris Aziz, which is the co-founder of ZurichJS.
Exactly. Thank you for welcoming me.
How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's been a busy week. We had a ZurichJS event last week and just chilling out after all of that and getting ready for the next one.
Okay. Can you tell us about your background?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of an interesting one because I got into tech around about 2019, 2020. Before tech, I was actually a CrossFit trainer, and I was actually getting to become a competitive athlete.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was actually in 2017 the second fittest man in Switzerland.
Okay.
And then I was just always curious by technology. I used to break things all the time. And I always tried to figure out how things would work. And so I had just finished high school around about in Nancy in Geneva. And once I had finished high school, I was really lost with what I wanted to do. And I kept on doing all this gymming stuff and whatever. And so I found actually the opportunity to go to a coding boot camp called Flatiron School. And so I shipped off to London, went and did a coding boot camp for 6 months. And then when the boot camp finished, I was actually the second last cohort before the boot camp shut down because of COVID. So I graduated boot camp right at the end of the COVID cycle, COVID starting in London. My parents told me, you're coming back to Switzerland. It's finished, not London anymore. So all the independence, all the freedom that went. And so I came back and I had a bunch of fresh coding skills, and I didn't really have anywhere to apply it because I was meant to find a role in London. And so I took, the coding skills that I had developed and also my passion for training, and actually built an application for coaches to be able to run classes while the gyms shut down in Switzerland.
Okay.
And that actually was my entry point into technology and how I got my first job working at FX Digital, where I helped work on Discovery Plus, Eurosport, and GCN, and everything just kind of kicked off from there. Weirdly enough, my first coding job in all the interview processes, I never wrote a single line of code, but got the job.
Okay. Wow. Yearly jobs, freelancing, corporate. What have been some standout challenges along the way?
I think the biggest standout challenge I've always had was age and the speed that technology moves through. I think whether you're in a larger corporate or enterprise, or whether you're in a startup, there's always shifts and changes that you have to endure. And so I've always been somebody that's incredibly ambitious, and I've always targeted startups because they allow you the opportunity to grow incredibly fast. Because as the startups grow, they create more space within the organization to be able to shift to higher senior roles. But always my age has played a little bit of a factor in terms of how fast you can scale. You can skill up. Not how fast you can skill up, but how fast you can get yourself in a senior role, which would historically normally take maybe 10 years, 15 years of experience to get within. And so I've always battled, no matter the organization I went with, is that how do you actually play the story of your age, experience, and marry that all together with understanding what are the trends within the software engineering world that you want to subscribe to be able to have that right balance of being able to be agile and adaptive in your career.
Yes. And how have you decided to create ZurichJS?
So the way ZurichJS started was actually, I was born in Zurich. That's one thing.
Okay.
I was born in Zurich. I'm Swiss. I don't sound Swiss,
Yeah,
but
really.
I don't sound Swiss. But I was born in Zurich. I've actually done most of my career in London. So when I come back from COVID, when I'd interviewed and worked at FX Digital, where I worked on the TV connected TV applications, that was a London-based company. And so because of all the weird, COVID rules, you didn't understand if you could do remote working or not. I just worked for London companies because there was just an incredible tech sector there that boomed during that period. And after that, in London's an incredibly high-paced environment. And so after 5-6 years of working in the London environment, I wanted to take a little bit of a step back and explore other territories. And I landed upon Small PDF. A Small PDF is where I'm currently a staff engineer. Okay. And so that their office is based in Zurich. The founders were based in Zurich too. That's why their office is there. It's in Wiedekon. And I actually got my first Swiss job last year, which is very weird. Okay. And it was, even though I live near Geneva, the work required me to come into the office, at least once a week. And so I was kind of faced with a couple of dilemmas in the sense of how do I make a 3.5-hour commute all the way to the office? That's one. And I actually found out that if you're going to commuting in Switzerland is the best place because you have a beautiful view of the lake on your morning commute. So I actually absolutely love it. I never thought I would. And then it's a brand new tech sector. I knew London at the back of my hand, but I didn't understand Zurich and how that sector worked. I didn't understand how do you apply for jobs? How do you network? And so I had started the job in August of last year, but in July, I actually went to the React Zurich meetup that was over there. And I threw my name in the hat to be able to speak over there. And I spoke in front of 20, 30-ish engineers. And it was actually an incredible speaking opportunity because that's where I met Bogdan, who's my co-founder of ZurichJS. And it was just such an incredible environment that Remo, who works at Digitech Galaxus, was hosting over there, that I was I want this scene to thrive. London's got so many of these meetups, all these places I travel to have incredible tech scenes. I want to be part of what it is to have one running in Zurich. And so, it takes a lot of effort to build out a community. And what I found is that there are a lot of things I learned through the conference world from exploring them and going to conferences all across Europe that I wanted to bring those learnings into the Swiss tech scene. I was I work here. Why not help build out a scene here? And so that's where Bogdan and I found the synergy where we're let's do something different, not only different to the Swiss tech scene, but let's do something different to what I've experienced in actually most of the meetups. And so one of the interesting things about what we did last week and what we did a LinkedIn post about today is that we actually brought conference level speakers to a meetup at prices you would have probably never seen before. So our tickets were 10 francs per person. A conference you'll spend between 200 and 800 francs per person. Mm-hmm. And we brought Matteo Colina, one of the Node.js steering committee, Ruth Martin, who lives actually in 20 minutes away from me, but he works on the Quick Core team. Incredible people that go to conferences normally, but at a meetup space. Mm-hmm. And we're finding ways to continue to do that. Even next month, we're bringing some Eliane, who's on the Astro Core team, and we're finding ways to actually even make that meetup free, despite, kind of up and cover their travel and hotel and so on and so forth. So that was really the idea, using kind of the connections I built and the friends I've made in the conference world and creating this unique environment for everyone to learn from.
How did you do to have this person for the ZurichJS?
So negotiations. I have the incredible privilege and opportunity to be able to travel to so many conferences, and that Small PDF encourages an incredible environment where I'm able to do that. Where I think even this week I found out that I'm going to be a speaker at React Summit New York, React Summit US, which is the biggest React conference in the US. And so over there, for example, there are going to be people like Tanner who created TanStack Query. There's going to be Adi Osmani, and I'm able to meet Matteo Colina. I've met him I think once or twice this year because I was also speaking at JS Day, CityJS. I see multiple of these people every other couple of months, and we talk about topics that we share interests in, and find topics that we want to learn from each other with, and then we actually just build friendships, because what we do is we spend time together. We do little for CityJS Athens, we do tours, we do bus tours, then we go to the beach together. So we go speak, we do the conference, then we go to the beach. I generally speak at conferences. I attend them a little bit more rarely, but I'm actually going to be going as an attendee to React Alicante because 60% of the speakers are my friends now. So even though I'm going to go and attend and learn, and it's going to be an incredible experience, I'm also going to be able to go and hang out with people that I really respect and enjoy spending time with. And, one of my good friends, Mateos, he gives incredible talks on deep React internals. We're just laughing about how we're going to go to the beach together in October in Alicante. It's a wonderful international friendship that I get to develop.
Wow. How many adherents are there in ZurichJS?
How many what?
Adherents?
So members or subscribers, adhérents. No, j'ai compris.
Sorry.
No, I just wanted to double check I was understanding correctly. So we actually run the Vue Zurich group and the ZurichJS group. ZurichJS is a lot more often. The Vue group we've run only once, and some members are shared across, but roughly we have around 600 to 800 members that are in the meetup groups that we have. And I think at least 100 to 150 of those are monthly active ones. And then depending on the season, we'll see lows of 30 to 40 attendees and highs of almost 100 attendees. But we are actually we're not even a year old. We're a year old on November 14th, I believe. And so I think what will be interesting is as of November 14th this year, we'll start to be able to understand our seasonality, which means that when we have a July event next month, we don't know what our July numbers look like. We can't assume that our main numbers will replicate our July numbers. So you have to go through the yearly cycles to understand what are the ideal timings to place events and so on and so forth, to understand our audience, or the needs of people that are part of the community, because the community is nothing without the people that make it. It's not just I want to organize one tomorrow and expect people to show up.
And what can someone find in this meetup?
I think eventually you can find most things that you want it to be, because that's what we want, for it to be a community-driven meetup. You'll find plenty of people to connect with our shared interests. You'll find people that you may be able to call friends because we go to dinner afterwards sometimes. You will find learnings. You will find people that inspire you. I mean, even I get inspired every single ZurichJS. Like, I think last week I went home a little bit, thinking to myself that like I'm surrounded by people that are so intelligent, so smart, and they're so sharp at what they do. It gives me motivation to upskill and do stuff myself. So even I find inspiration every single day, even though I'm helping run the events. And so people can find inspiration, reasons to level up. People can find, in what Zurich may be a difficult to network, city, or even like a lot of places are difficult to network. They'll find ways that we can help create this social gel that people are able to help, build these connections and learn these soft skills. Because, even if you start a new job, it's scary to go to the office the first day and these are all new faces all around you and you don't know how to deal with that. And so that's a scary thing. As developers, we like our computers. We like to stay behind the computers, and I want to go on my Zoom call and that's it, And so breaking these barriers that allow you to develop the social and networking skills that allow you to upskill not just externally to your role, but also internally within your company are incredibly valuable for your growth. And then eventually what we want to be able to do is instead of having a call for speakers where somebody can submit their application, we want to be able to ask our audience, who do you want to speak? And we'll try and invite them.
And how do you stay motivated for all of that?
Lots of coffee. Lots of coffee. But the conference space is so motivating because I constantly hear this advice that like when you're young, you should go and travel. And I have, again, this incredible privilege that I get to travel the world and people help me travel the world. And I get to speak about topics that I'm passionate about. Like I was giving a workshop at ZurichJS Athens, I think it was 2 months ago. And in that workshop, I learned what's the next thing I want to give a talk about. Like we were getting into the nitty-gritty of this product and application that this company was building. And so out of that, we were even deviating from what the workshop was meant about. I think we only covered 20% of what the workshop was meant to be about, but they had such interesting problems that they were dealing with. I was like, wow, this particular caching issue that they're dealing with, or the way that they're handling JSON payloads is really cool. I want to now make a talk about that because we talked about these theoreticals. And so it means I don't have to entirely rely on the job that I'm in to be able to upskill or discover what I want to learn. I get so much exposure from the world around me that I get to have incredible people help teach me things. Like if I want to learn Astro, I can just go to my friend that works on the team and tell me like, hey, dude, how does this thing work? Or, I can just go to people that I respect and I have great connections with and understand the directions that they're going, and that helps me guide myself too. It's like, okay, is the podcast the next thing to do? Should I be writing more blogs? Maybe should I write a book? And so there's just so much inspiration around me. It just gives me energy every single day, and I get to bring that into my workspace too at Small PDF, and it makes this wonderful cycle of like, finding energy outside of work and inside and outside and inside of work.
How do you find topics, and what are the common topics or technologies discussed?
It would be, I think it would be disservice for me to say that AI isn't the hot one right now. That's going, and I'm even on the board to help organize or bring back to life a conference called FrontConf that's been running for 10 years in Zurich, and so like even we're exploring the space of like, how does AI evolve the way that we work? And so while we think that's an incredibly important topic and a topic that every company is exploring right now, whether it's from an integration perspective and how do you make AI part of the tools that you're building, but also how does AI help you develop? And we don't want that to just be the only part of the story. We have people that actually just bring the topics to us. We have people that are interested in payments technologies, people interested in being a solopreneur and deciding your own career or going into freelancing. We have lots of talks about that too. And it's what's beautiful is that we get to have this 360 perspective, this holistic perspective of topics that help you understand how to evolve as a whole rounded engineer, or not even just an engineer, or a contributor to a company, or even your own projects. So the topics have sort of been magically appearing in front of us. And what we do is we try to create themes, because we don't want to be in this space where we're saying, okay, we're only going to talk about React, and that's all we're going to talk about, and we're only accepting React speakers. We accept every single speaker. But what we tell them is that you're not going to get your slot maybe the next meetup. You're going to get your slot when the theme is built around it. So somebody may submit their CFP today, but they may not get their speaking slot for 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Because, one meetup is about building your career. Another meetup is about everything front end. And the last one, for example, was everything Node.js multi-threaded and resumability with Quick. So we create themes again.
Okay. Like SolidJS, Svelte, Deno, what's the community take?
Community take in what sense? As in, where is the community heading, or where are the communities forming around them, or like, I think how I would answer that one is that I haven't. Vue is a very strong community, actually. I see a very strong community around Vue, especially in the Amsterdam scene. And then in Zurich, Vue Zurich actually gets a lot of traction. There are a lot of companies. I think Get Your Guide as a company also uses Vue. GitLab also uses Vue to an extent. There are a lot of companies there. React is also just a really big one. I haven't seen any dedicated SolidJS or Deno meetups. I think there are definitely topics in these newer framework technologies and libraries that are brought to light at JavaScript generic meetups. So that's why we went for the ZurichJS, idea, because all these different libraries and frameworks, they fit under the hood of JavaScript at the end of the day. And that's the core that's running, and what we're building all these technologies on. Even whether you want to say, okay, TypeScript is there too. TypeScript is part of also the JavaScript conversation, as is a superset of JavaScript. So I think there are still pockets around that exist. I know that, for example, on the 10th of July, there's going to be a cursor meetup in Zurich. There may be something that Stripe is in the scene of building meetups now too. There's also SonarCube that's based in Geneva that's building up the meetup scene around here too. Okay. So there are pockets that are that are starting to form around. But I would say actually it's maybe in London and New York that are regions that have more niche meetups, because again, there's also meetup fatigue that exists, where if there are 20 meetups in Zurich and there are not enough developers and niches to go around those meetups, each meetup would only get 10 people that show up to them. And so you rather find more collective spaces where we can bring niches to light. instead of, going down too much into single verticals. But I've even seen Svelte meetups that are very successful in London. There's a whole Svelte community around there that's awesome. I just haven't explored that in Zurich, for example.
Okay. Performance audits, security testing, what do you recommend devs focus on?
Whatever moves the needle for your business. I think if you generalize in terms of security or performance or anything, that it's incredibly contextual. I think one of the questions that I ask when I do my warm-up series as part of my workshops is like, what's a developer's most common response to questions? And it depends, because everything forms itself around different contexts. And so performance audits are incredible. They're really great. They're useful to do maybe once a quarter. I know in my last company, we used to do 12-factor audits to make sure that our microservices abided by certain, practices that we wanted to follow as part of our coding guidelines. But I've also been to companies where they do performance audits but have 0 users. And if you have 0 users, that's not going to really move the needle, for example. There you need to, in a startup, be incredibly fast, iterative, ship things really quickly. If you have a product that has no security concerns, you're not again going to dive into security so much. But like a place where security is very important might be SonarQube, because they develop tools around security and static analysis, so on and so forth. So what I would say is it's better to understand what are the business priorities and the levers that you have control over, and how can you link those in an engineering space. I work on a monetization team at Small PDF. And so part of the work that we do and the lever that I'm responsible for shifting is revenue. So how is everything that I'm doing changing the way we make revenue? And that's my number that I care about more often than not. And so if the performance of our checkout system is really bad, then I'm going to have to do a performance audit to make sure that people that have lower bandwidth network devices have a checkout experience that loads very fast, because the bundle size is very low, and then they'll be able to convert, which will then move the revenue ticker. My revenue ticker doesn't care how performant my application is or how secure it is. It cares about moving in a certain direction. And so it's understanding what's the right mix of all the metrics and the tools you have around you that shifts the levers that you are concerned about.
Yeah. Okay. What is your favorite tool right now?
I'm quite a scattered person. I'm quite a scattered person because I am sometimes overly ambitious, so I like to do a lot of things. And so naturally, ChatGPT and Cursor alleviate a lot of things for me, of whether I need to, like ZurichJS, the website itself is 90% written by a Cursor. It's using use Claude Sonnet 2.7. I built it in a weekend. If I need to ship a new feature, I don't have the time to integrate something, and I don't care how scrappy the code is. Again, we treat ZurichJS like a startup. I need to iterate and do something really fast. Again, like when I need to draft emails or thoughts, or like whenever I have a meeting actually, and I finish that meeting, I go on ChatGPT and I just record my voice for the next 5 minutes, and I recap everything that I had in the last meeting that I had with somebody, and it summarizes the notes for me. I correct it and I keep a log of it, because in any given day, I'll have 10, 15 different interactions, and I don't want somebody to feel like I'm not giving their interaction enough importance. And I want to be able to scale myself as a person. Like, I don't have a team working behind me for my own initiative. For ZurichJS, naturally, I have an incredible team that supports me with that. But for my own initiatives, for the conference talks that I need to do, for all the abstracts and CFPs, I need to find ways that alleviate, things that would take a lot of time normally, but don't need, critical thinking. So that's what ChatGPT and Cursor really help me do. They don't replace the skills that I have as an engineer. They help me focus on harder problems. Yeah. And that's what I like a lot about them.
Yeah, I understand. What are the community values?
The community values is authenticity, and I think vulnerability. We have a lot of community values, but I think they can all be distilled to that. When you are authentic and you bring yourself, and I think that plays also into psychological safety. It's like, can you feel like the person that the person that you are at work or at home, or who you feel closest to, is a person that you can bring to the community? that's something we're incredibly happy about. Like we have a lot of volunteers. It's actually incredible when I get like a notification on my phone that somebody applied to volunteer. I'm like, wow, you want to take time out of your day to help build this community? That's like an amazing thing for somebody to do. And so sometimes, I'll have somebody come to me and they're like, I know I submitted an application to volunteer, but like now some personal things are happening in my life and it's very difficult and I can't commit to the 10 hours a week that I told you I commit to. I'm stressed out. And I'm like, you are allowed to commit one day and the next day tell me you're done. You need to feel safe to say no. You need to feel safe that I'm excited today. I'm sad today. I have this today. We're human beings. We go through different emotions. We go through different cycles. There are days that we're ready for learning. Like the biggest thing that we thank people is like, wow, you had an entire work day. You woke up maybe at 6 a.m. Maybe you had to drop your kids to school. You did the entire work day. Maybe you had a stressful one-to-one with a couple of people. And then you're coming and ready to learn. Like, wow, a human being can only go through so much in a singular day. And we just want to respect the fact that people are bringing their authentic selves, their vulnerable selves. And as long as it is in an environment that's fostering this learning and an environment where, you can bring yourself, but not to the detriment of somebody else, where you can be vulnerable, but if it hurts somebody else in the process, that's not what we want in the community. As long as we can strike that balance, I think that's the foundation of most things we have there.
Any special moment or exchange that really stuck with you?
I think that was again like last week. Last week was an incredibly special one because it was again like the first ZurichJS Pro event that we did, and so having Matteo Collina over there was like just such an exceptional experience. Having Wout there was also such a heartwarming experience because they just brought all their energy and their passions there. They even Wout was showing me that he built like these slides with the framework just because he was excited about this event. And people who spent all their time mastering these technologies, just coming here and sharing things and then breaking bread and we're eating food together. All the even all the stresses that were leading up to the event, all the coordination, it just went away and it felt like true bonding and learning. And sometimes I had to even step away and just look at the room of like 20, 30, 40 people engaged. And I was like, this didn't exist a year ago. This like these are people that I met at conferences. Like even when we went to JS Day, we actually somehow created a Swiss corner. There was Christian who was there, who was an incredible speaker also in the Swiss-German region. There was Nico Martin, that's also an incredible Swiss speaker. We didn't realize it, but somehow there were 4 Swiss speakers in the corner of a table in Bologna at an Italian conference. We had no idea that each other was showing up at this place. And it's like, wow, everyone who's been on that table, what had been part of ZurichJS or was going to be part of ZurichJS. And even Bogdan was there too. And it's like, that's where we met Matteo too. And it was like, hey, we're doing this stuff in Zurich. And that event is where we kind of coordinated everything to then, I think this was an event that took place in the beginning of April. And then in 5 minutes, we're like June 19th. We've locked it down. Let's make it happen. And it's like 3 months of planning and thought and love put into this event that lasted 2 days. And I think that just was, it's just unforgettable. And we have also Enrique, who's just this amazing photographer. Like I used to do the photography, Bogdan used to do the photography where we just jump on stage, talk about our stuff, then go click a bunch of photos, then edit them. Hectic. We're running around like headless chickens. Like, there's so many things to coordinate. And Nadia and Enrique, they just came on board and they alleviated so much of that pressure that allowed everyone to just do what they do best. And it felt like this beautiful dance and orchestra that took place where everything, while some things were a little bit imperfect, everything brought around smiles. And that's all what it was about at the end of the day.
Did you record it?
The talks, no, but we do have videos that came out of it. Where I think a common topic we're asked is like, are we going to record the talks? And we're so much about being in person. And I'm the first person to want to also do everything remote and have things recorded. We're so much about doing things in person that we just want to capture things in the moment from our own eyes. And while recording is something that we may look to exploring in the future, it's just something that we didn't feel was going to be enough of a value add in the moment to justify the amount of coordination it takes. It's already quite something that we have a collection of photos afterwards and a collection of mini videos that we create. But asking people to like go into the whole video editing process and having the equipment set up and everything, that's something that we're slowly working towards, and we're not there.
Okay. It will come.
It will come.
If you were speaking to a junior dev or someone unsure about joining the scene, well, what would you say?
In multiple things that I've said, it depends on if you're a junior that's already had a role or not. But I would say enjoy being a junior. And that's the first thing, is because I was like this as a junior too, or as a less experienced individual. I prefer to say that more. Because we're all junior in different ways. I was a junior in the conference world, even having been many years in the engineering world. Don't climb the ladder too fast. When you climb the ladder too fast, you had these external pressures that come on you way too quickly. And so the beauty of being somebody less experienced and having the expectation of being somebody less experienced is that you are given more room to fail. And failing again and again and having all these scars from these failures is how we learn and evolve as individuals. And the more you do that, the more you have under your belt, the less afraid you are to make mistakes too, or at least you know all the different potential outcomes. It's like, you can see the future a little bit. It's like, oh, don't do this because I made this mistake before. And these are the skills you need when you become a senior person, because it's all about risk tolerance. If you're a junior and you haven't made enough of these mistakes in the beginning, you will then climb to a senior position where you're expected to not make any mistakes or very few of them. And you'll feel so much pressure to not fail that you'll crumble and fail to innovate in the process. And so that's one really important aspect of being a junior. But also, just don't be afraid to ask what may be considered as dumb questions. And when I say may be considered as dumb questions, it's because we do believe there's no such thing as a dumb question. What may be perceived as a question that is inconsidered is the same question that's been asked already 3 times. Like if somebody's asked question once, question twice, and you're asking the same thing a third time, you're perceived as having maybe not listened or digested the information. And asking the same question twice is absolutely fair, because we don't understand language all the same way. So sometimes we need to have things rephrased. In my workshops, I tell people, say the word rephrase, and I will say the same thing in a different manner. That's entirely normal. But you don't want to be somebody that's ignorant in that sense. And so often I had a manager, his name was Adam, and one of the most amazing things that one of the really the things I took away from when he was the team lead on my on the SDB team at FX Digital, he told me that sometimes as a senior engineer, I ask questions not because I need them answered for me, but because somebody else is too afraid to ask them. And so if you have something in your head, ask it, learn. Nobody's going to judge you for that. And if they do, then they're maybe not the right person to be inspired from in the first place. That's what I spend most of my time doing, is like, how does this work? How does this happen? I'm also meant to be, if I'm a conference speaker, I'm meant to be a perceived expert. And that's just not true. I have some things I'm very good at, but I'm not afraid to expose myself as not knowing certain things. And so when I'm even interviewing juniors, the most important thing is, Aziz, I can teach you motivation. I can teach you skill, but I can't teach you motivation. I can teach you a lot of things about how to build. I can't teach you the attitude you need to build them. I can guide that and try to foster to create an environment around it, but I can't tell you to be I can't force you to be open-minded. And so having an understanding of what it takes to understand how you yourself learn and how you want to consume information from others is also going to show other people around you that you have a lot of potential. And it's that potential that's so important as a junior, because you skill up really fast and then you choose the direction you want to go in.
And what's next for ZurichJS?
I would love to do a conference. And that's just entirely selfish, because I would love to have all my conference speaking friends. I would love to invite Mateos, Daniel Alfonso. I'd love to invite Aris, the founder of CityJS. I'd love to invite all these incredible people and just have an excuse for everyone to learn from them and to have, a dinner together and things like that. Like a conference is an incredible way to do that. But beyond that, I think ZurichJS is building something really special, not just in the Zurich tech scene, but I think we're trying to have a different take on how tech communities should be run in general. And a lot of tech communities are run on Luma or Eventbrite or meetup.com. And so we built a bespoke platform, which is the ZurichJS platform, to run all of that. And so there are a lot of platforms out there like Sessionize, and meetups build their own bespoke web pages that solve part of the problems. But a lot of what's part of the experience of a meetup is getting feedback for speakers. How do you rate speakers? Product feedback. Sometimes somebody's demoing a product and then they want to show it to people. So how do you give feedback individually to a speaker or individually to the product itself? There are two different parts of the equation. How are you displaying event information? How are you preparing speakers? Sometimes speakers are like, I don't know my audience. How many people are there? How many are senior? How many are CTOs? I don't know who I'm talking to. So how can we display that information? How are we able to give speakers that are struggling to get their break a chance and the right feedback that they can learn from? The whole call for papers process and volunteering process and photos and community management and, even payments for sponsorships and for managing payments of workshops and everything. It's not an easy thing to do. There are other platforms that you have to integrate with to manage that. And so we want to create an entire in-house experience. Maybe sometime in the future, we might want to create a white label solution that's designed bespoke, not just for meetups, but specifically for technical meetups, because they have different requirements to then just socializing or networking based meetups. There's a whole story around to the beginning and the end.
Collaborations, side project, real world impact. What's come out of ZurichJS?
This. It's just catapulted the whole experience of before I was able to meet incredible people, interact with them, make friends. I just get to do even more of that. Now I'm able to even take Bogdan and Nadia, and we get to do even more of that. And so it brings to light really interesting and important work that I think that we're doing. And so we don't even care too much about the light itself or the exposure. We care purely about the exposure so that more people can choose to be part of it if they want to. And so being able to have more opportunities to be able to do more podcasts, more opportunities to be able to speak at conferences, allows you to, again, then have this effect where I can go to the next conference and be like, hey, we're doing ZurichJS stuff. If you ever come and make a holiday in Switzerland, you're more than welcome to then also make a meetup part of it. Like we have Harshal Agrawal, who's coming for AWS Summit in Zurich. I think it's on the 11th of September. And so he said, I'm coming to AWS Summit. In any case, you've got a meetup. Do you want to organize something? I'm like, okay, what day are you coming? 11th? Done. We're doing a meetup on the 10th. We don't just have the recurring meetup. We'll design the meetup and also do it bespoke around the audience and the speakers that come. And that's something that's special because it feels a little bit like a holiday package, if you want to say it, or so on and so forth. And so having more people have that, be able to see what we do, allows them to reach out to us and be part of it.
Where do you see ZurichJS group in 3-5 years?
In 3 to 5 years, I think I even got asked the question, like, why can't I bring in and do JenevaJS? And I was asked that, I think, by Carmen is doing really cool work with the SonarQube meetups, and they had their first revival of that a little bit earlier this year. And so I want to really perfect the core of ZurichJS and feel like it can function without the core organizers, in the sense that if I were to now go and do a JenevaJS, can a ZurichJS event run without me or without Bogdan or without Nadia? Mm-hmm. And so once we create this experience that we're confident in, we then want to maybe see if we can expand it. And expanding that may be once a year we'll do a meetup in Geneva. Once a year maybe we'll do that in Bucharest or somewhere else. I have no idea. And all of those eventually will roll into maybe doing one large conference. And that's what ZurichJS is kind of trying to leap towards. And then running a meetup is also very difficult from a financial perspective. Like I think for 18 pizzas, we'll pay around 600 francs. And that number scars me in Zurich. But I mean, we want to be able to feel like, it's dinner time when you're at the meetup. We want to be able to provide you good quality food, not just, chips or things like that. And so that's really expensive. And one hope is that actually, if we can make a conference successful, we'll be a little bit less dependent on sponsor money or things like that, and have the profits of the conference roll into supporting the meetups for the rest of the year. And that way it creates a roll-on effect where we're able to really keep the quality in the way that we want to and decide the storyline. Like we're also very, we're very cautious and considerate around the way we go about partnering with people, because we don't just partner with anyone. We have a lot more offers for sponsorship than we actually do agree to, but we want everything to be a value add and part of the heart. And so the more that we are able to do that and not have to stress about the venues or the food or any of the other stuff, the more we'll be able to keep to what the original image of the meetup was.
Okay. What are the top 2-3 messages you want listeners to walk away with?
I think it comes back to that one that I already mentioned, is that sometimes don't just ask a question because you need an answer. Sometimes ask a question because somebody else needs an answer too. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable because you want to. It's more important to be surrounded by the right people than force yourself to be surrounded by just about anyone. People, I think, respect that. And find what makes you motivated and happy in a way that doesn't force you to create a work-life balance, but a work-life integration, where every day you don't have to create a separation between what you do from 9 to 5 and your side projects, and find ways to force yourself to bring back that cycle of energy, but find ways to make things in life complementary so that your cycle of energy is predictable and your cycle of energy works for you. And you don't feel like you're unnecessarily compromising, because you'll always go through cycles in life. But as long as you feel like you're doing and being yourself unapologetically without compromise, you'll be living true to yourself.
Where people can follow you?
LinkedIn, because I'm horrible at Twitter, Blue Sky, X. I don't have any of that stuff. I do have it. I'm just not active on it. LinkedIn, and I try to be regular on LinkedIn. And I've got my personal website, which is faziz-dev.com. But actually, I'm also very fortunate that you can put my name, Faris Aziz, on Google, and I'm the first result. So it's quite easy to find me, and I'm trying to keep it that way.
Okay. A GS tip, a challenge, or one last message in under 10 seconds.
Understand the tools that you work with, break them apart and rebuild them from scratch. The way I learned React best was by building it myself, in the sense that I wanted to understand its internals. And so there was this incredible blog post, and I went and I built my own version of React, not because I think I could do it better or I could do it different, because I wanted to understand how it worked at its core to be able to leverage it best. So don't stay at the surface, dig a little deeper, and let that curiosity drag you into places you never thought it could.
Okay. And any fun facts about you?
I like to race motorbikes. I race motorbikes, and I second fittest Switzerland 2017, and it was top 100 in Europe in 2018.
Wow.
And I've let go of all of that.
Okay. The last word about the sponsorship, about GIF.
Yeah.
With ZurichJS. Why have you chosen GIF? Because we discussed together, and this is Bogdan.
Yeah.
Which has contacted me for GIF, and I was surprised but also happy, because this is the kind of thing that I'm looking for. And why?
First, I very much trust Bogdan. When Bogdan sends something my way, it adds like 50% of trust automatically into it. And I think conversations that are easy are conversations that sometimes are right. And the conversation that we had initially just felt like an easy one because there were parts of our stories that lined up. I figured out something in Geneva, but I'm missing Zurich. And I'm like, I've gotten to Zurich, but I'm missing Geneva. So it felt like there was synergy there. And just because a conversation is easy doesn't mean it can't be uncomfortable sometimes because you're exploring what other people, need and want. But I think like it wasn't just that we had something that you needed and you had something that we needed. It was more like we felt that, we have freelancers in our community. We have somebody that literally had given a talk about freelancing and guiding their own journey. And what you're building with GIF is literally what is helping people thrive in a community where everyone has their own path and journey they take, whether it's full-time roles, part-time roles, freelancing, or building their own company. Anything that adds to choice and choosing the different lifestyles you want and that work-life integration I talked about, that's an incredible ad. And that's why we're really happy to partner.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for this interview, and hope to continue this adventure with you.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.